Hey everyone, and welcome to Stitching Tales, a podcast about all things sewing and what it's really like to run a sewing business. I am Johanna of The Last Stitch.
And I am Malena Hjerpe of Hazelhen Patterns.
And in today's episode, we are going to talk more about our next big project. Whew! Yes! If you have listened to this podcast previously, which I think a lot of you have already, you know that we have been talking about a project for probably as long as this podcast has been in existence. But this year, 2026, it's about to happen, right?
Yes, now it is on our priority to-do list, not just in the back of our minds, but now we are going to say, okay, we are going to do this now. So... We want to ask you, listeners, a little questions and discuss where we are and how to move forward. And we want to take you along on this journey. Yes. It's going to be a journey, right?
It's going to be a journey, and because we realize, because we have regular meetings now about this project, and we have so many questions. We're like small details, and we're like, we need to ask the listeners to this podcast on how the best way of doing this specific topic, because if you haven't guessed already, what we are talking about is, of course, our second joint book. It's called Working Title to a T, and it's a sewing book with patterns. Yes, physical paper patterns that you can use to sew your ideal t-shirt. And we all know that we have lots of different opinions on what is the ideal t-shirt. So that's why we're providing 5. Am I saying right now 5 different styles? Yes, I'm doing the math right. 5 different styles.
I need to look at my notes here. Yes, 5.
And we're going to see if we can keep I think hopefully you'll get in the sizes from European size 32 up to Malena. What is the size?
Size 60, European size. And here, first question, what is that in US? Does anyone have like a size chart? What US sizes, what are the body measurements? Because I am trying to figure out what is the body measurements that we are going to have. What is that in US size and UK size? I'm trying to look at different pattern books. It's like different in every single book. I'm a little bit lost there. The European sizes, there are variations there as well, but it's not that big. But your US size, I'm lost.
Yeah. But we could give a roughly estimate if you're a US listeners, which actually the majority of the listeners on this podcast, hello there, over there, are actually from the US. So it's from roughly a size 0 up to either 28 or 30, right? So I hope that gives you a good idea. So the size range is expansive. So we tried to really cover as many sizes as we possibly can, based on the limitation of doing a book, and of course also that we know that we can do it well when it comes to drafting. And as you say, Malena, we are a little bit confused, and we haven't even mentioned the UK one. So we kind of landed upon the first thing now, that we are going to, on the pattern paper, we are going to just list the European sizes. But of course, we will have a guide, a conversion guide in the book, so that you can look at your measurements. And they will, of course, both be in centimeters and inches, or empirical measurements, so that you can find the equivalent based on your body. Because as Malena said, it differs. And it's always because we came to this conclusion. I said we have this idea that we are a specific size, but that's just the trick of the mind, because it really is just a number, and that number can vary. So if I think I'm a 38, well, that depends on the clothing company or the pattern company, because it can vary. a little bit. So that's why it's again so important to check the measurements as well, and not just. And we do this mistake ourselves because we talked about this previously. We're like, maybe we are more like a 40 these days, and we like have this mind. We have a size 38, and we're like, nah, not really.
Yeah,
when you pick up the measurements.
Yeah, it is so ingrained in you. I used to be 36, so just slightly below my the base size that we have, and I have a fitting dummy in size 38, so that's why we have that as a base size. So when I sewed the last sample, I still sewed it in 38, and when we were fitting it and looking at it on the screen, I was like, yeah, it's a little bit tight, and have like, but why? I was like, why did I sew a size too small for me when I am gonna fit it? I mean, I did it because I wanted to do the fitting on the dummy as well, to get a more like a neutral, because it's not obviously supposed to be according to just my body. But still, it's so difficult to judge a fitting if it's one size too small.
Yes.
But that's how ingrained it is, even for us.
Even though we should really know better. I mean,
this.
Yes. We are the one.
I am wearing a size 40 of that T-shirt. So this is the updated version now. This is
it looks
the latest.
So good. It looks
right?
So good.
When it's
Watch the video
size.
version, people. The fit is A+. And
this is actually the latest pattern, the latest add-on to this book. It wasn't included a month ago, month and a half, but when we did the podcast episode about capsule wardrobes, I talked about this T-shirt. Like, this is my absolute favorite staple T-shirt that I love and have lots of in my wardrobe. And I was like, why haven't I made this pattern already? And we don't have it in our book. Why? So we added it.
So we added it.
And yes, I do love it.
Yeah, it's perfect, and the fabric shows you so well. So Malena is wearing a grey marl T-shirt with. I love the width of the neckline as well, because that's something we're obsessed about too. It's perfect. Yeah.
This is it's in shell fabric, and it's a cotton elastan, so it's 1.5 centimeter, 85% of the neckline, but we are going to include 75% length as well for ribs, and that's going to be 2.5 centimeters, so 1 inch. So this is a little bit narrower. Because it wouldn't look nice in this type of. It doesn't have as good stretch, so a wide rib wouldn't make sense, or attachment. So I am for this podcast
I'm
occasion.
So excited
I thought,
now.
Of course, I have to wear it. I didn't tell you that I was going to wear it. But
I am blown away because just before the holidays we had a book meeting, and we were like, it's not quite right, and now you're wearing the right size, and I'm like, oh my god, this looks so good.
Yeah, and I did, as we discussed, I made the neckline a little bit bigger compared to before. So it's a little bit more, it sits better on the shoulder. Yeah, sometimes tight necklines, they are super nice, so common in like the apparel industry to have it so tight. And it looks really nice. But it is a little bit uncomfortable when it's lying on your neck. So it is slightly bigger. And good thing, now we can match the hoodie even better, because we are gonna have a hood as well that you can have as an add-on or something.
Yes, so this is what Malena is wearing is one of the 5 styles. So this is like the perfect Malena's perfect T-shirt. This is the one which is just right. It's not fitted and it's not oversized. It is just right.
Just relaxed.
Just relaxed. And I should just mention one more thing before we move on to the styles. We're also really happy because a lot of T-shirts in ready to wear, they use bigger gaps between sizes. So it's usually like XX small, X small, small, medium, large, X large, XX large. And those are bigger jump because there are fewer sizes. So the width, the extra ease between each size is more, which means that it's, for me personally, it's oftentimes I'm in between 2 sizes, and it's really hard to get it right. And the benefit of using the more traditional measurement system that you have for wovens is that we do work with small increments, right, Malena? So in the the lower size range, I think it's 4 centimeters about width around the chest area, for instance.
Yeah, the difference between
4 centimeter, which is about 1/3 of an inch, I think, or something like that. 1.5 inch, I think. I'm doing math on the fly now. And in the upper size range, there is a little bit more ease, right? So it moves up. Is it 5 centimeters between each size?
Then it is 4 centimeter, and then it starts to be 6 centimeters gap in between the sizes on the chest.
So that's a good thing now that if you get our book, you will be able to find t-shirt sizing that will be very, very close to actual measurements, which is one of the things that we feel really, really important. It's something very valuable for us, because you want it to be just right, because that's why we're obsessing about all the things like the width of the neckline and the neckband.
Yeah, and it's a little bit fascinating, and also like the reasoning behind this is that you don't have all the different all this. It's a little bit a simplification when you do small, medium, large, extra large, bigger size gap, but then you don't have to have so many actual sizes in store, because you don't have that big space in stores, and you don't maybe have a warehouse where you can store them, storage. So then you simplify it a little bit using these small, medium, large sizes. You had less amount of actual sizes, but you still reach a larger size group. You can still have that. While for woven, you have to have so many sizes, and you have to have each in a couple of samples in every single size. So it becomes a lot of sizes. So that's why it's a little bit simplified, basically, for jersey, because it is a more forgiving material as well. But as we, both you and I, are now in the situation that we are a size 40, small is usually a 38 and medium is usually a 42. So we are just in between that. So when we wear small, it's a little bit too tight, but medium is a little bit too big. And since we are making patterns now, we don't have the issue about storage. So we can have these many sizes. And it can also be a little bit depending on the fabric. Like if you choose a little bit stiffer, then maybe you want to go up a size, or if you have a little bit really soft and you prefer it really tight, then you can go one size below. So you're a little bit more flexible here. So that's why this is our thinking.
This is our thinking, exactly. Yeah, and we should also talk about the other 4 styles as well. So we're basically moving from really fitted, the type of top like that you would sew,
or
rib knits,
pointelle, ribs, cotton elastan, absolutely, if it has a lot of stretch and you prefer it to be really tight. So yeah, we have that. That one will also have not mock neck, turtleneck.
Yep, turtleneck.
So you can have that one on, and this is of course minus ease. So it is, the measurements are smaller on the top compared to your body, so it's a tight fitted t-shirt. So yeah, that one is the first one. And here a question also. We call this snug tee because it's a really snug, tight fit. The names, we haven't. This is just a working name. Do you like that it, listeners? Do you like that it? Should it call snug tee, or should we make up a completely different name, like, I don't know, just have a female name or something nature inspired? Or is there a, I mean, of course there is a benefit of having names, because then you can search for it a little bit easier on the hashtags on Instagram. But yeah, pros and cons. Sometimes I think it's so much more straightforward to have like, oh, it's a snug fit tee. Yeah. It says, it's very self-explanation.
Explanatory, right, exactly.
Yeah, it's like very literal. So yeah, I want to hear, that's a question that I have.
Yeah, and it's really, because it's very interesting, because regardless if we settle on having like names, like a person name or whatever, we still need to have a very clear description. And of course the illustrations will show, but it's also, and that's also a little bit tricky. Snug tee, tight fitting tee. I mean, what gives the clearest, because even if we would said on the description, we still have to nail the description, because now that's snug tee, which is, as you say, Malena, the negative ease one for really tight-fitting looks and super stretchy fabrics. And then we have of course, also long sleeve. We also have long sleeves.
Both are short and long
both
sleeve.
Short and long
All
yes.
of these t-shirts both have a long sleeve and a short sleeve. And a tighter neckline and a little bit bigger neckline as well.
Yeah. So then we move from the snug or very tight fitted tee to the fitted tee, right? Yes. So what's the difference, Malena, between the fitted tee and the snug tee?
So this one has positive ease, so it's a little bit bigger compared to your body, but it's still not oversized or anything. It still has like a shaped waist, so it's still like pretty fitted. I mean, it's but it's not tight. So you can have perfect for cotton elastan fabric. This is a cotton elastan that I'm wearing right now, so it's it has good stretch, good recovery, but it's not like super expanding fabric. So this is like, something in between. If you don't want to have like a little bit bigger relaxed fit, but don't feel comfortable in too tight fitted garments. So this is perfect for that silhouette. Just a regular t-shirt.
Regular t-shirt. And will it have slightly shaping in the waist? Will it be straight line or will it slightly shaped? Yeah.
No, it's slightly shaped.
Slightly shaped, yeah. That's my personal favorite. I really like those because I have more of a narrow waist and then my hips go out quite a bit in my tummy. So I really like that shape because I feel like it follows my shape, and I feel, to me, that's a nice way of dressing, where I have the garment following roughly my own like body shape. So that's a really nice, like the classic kind of style that you can also, because it is fitted, it's very easy to wear underneath the cardigan, or it goes with everything,
and
you can,
or something. Yeah,
exactly. So it's a very nice option for those as well, because that's also something you have to think about when you're designing this. You also, how it's supposed to be. Where is it going to be like the outer layer, or is it going to be an inner layer? So today, both you and I, because it's winter up here in the north, we're both you and I are wearing cardigans, and then we're wearing like knit top underneath, and that's because you don't want too bulky sleeves then, because you want to, like, with ease be able to get your top underneath. So that's the fitted tee, and then we have the one that you are wearing right now, Malena. Yes, the perfect tee.
According to me, I mean, personal opinion, we call it straight tee because this one has it has a straight side seam, so it doesn't have any shape to it. So it's like it's not off dropped shoulder, but it's a little bit wider shoulder. But yeah, not oversized. It's not that big, but it's more relaxed. And this one you will easily be able to add on or sew in like a sweatshirt fabric, like jogging fabric, and add cuffs, so you have like a sweatshirt instead. So you can hack this pretty easily to, it works in those thicker fabric as well, because it has more positive ease. It's bigger compared to the other ones. So and I would also think my personal favorite.
And the great thing about this t-shirt also is that it would be also really nice looking if you sew it in a like soft drapey fabric, because then you get like almost like a slightly fitted look, but you still get the movement and the ease of wearing it oversized. And that's one of my favorite. If I'm wearing, I have a couple of those t-shirts as well, and I love when they are like quite lightweight knit with a nice drape. Maybe it's a mix. Sometimes, with a little bit of rayon inside or something like that, it gives it a little bit more fluidity. I think it's also the perfect style for that. So you have so many fabric options, like regular 100% single jersey, as you say, Malena, slightly more sweatshirt fabric, and also soft drapey fabric. I think it's going to look great in all those. And of course, cotton elastane as well. So this is probably the most versatile style of all, I think.
I mean, of course, in the small, or the more fitted, tight fitted patterns, you the fabric choice are a little bit more crucial, because if you are going to use 100% cotton, it usually doesn't have that much stretch. It is
unless it's a rib knit,
yeah, of course, rib knit, yeah. But otherwise, if it's a single jersey, it is gonna feel too tight, probably, if you are gonna use the snag tee patterns. So here we are gonna talk about that as well. Fabric choices, how crucial it is. It's for woven, it's a little bit easier, I think, to choose the right fabric. For knit, you have to really, choose the right fabric to the right pattern and the right size. So it's more crucial here, to be honest.
Yeah. And again, we're going to have, as you say, Malena, we're going to have 2 options for the neckband as well. So if you want to use this, when we say self fabric, that means, for instance, if you're using a cotton elastine jersey for the bodies, you can also use the same fabric for the neckline, and that is a little bit more narrow, and the neckline is a little bit wider. And then if you want to use a rib knit instead, which has more stretch, then you need a separate pattern piece, and it's also going to look a bit wider. And I really like the wider neckband as well. Like a lot of more like high-end, high-fashion brands, they usually have a slightly wider neckband as well. And for instance, I know COS, the Swedish like upscale H&M brand, they have, which I really like, a contrasting color on a lot of their t-shirts. So you have this wide neckband. For instance, if the t-shirt might be like blue and white striped, and then they have the neckband is red, and it looks super cool because the color matching is so nice when it goes together. So you have those kind of accents possibility as well if you want to. So you don't have to like obsess about finding the right exactly right color, because that can be tricky with rib knit. Compared to self fabric, but then you can do it as a design features as well, and just use a contrasting color. And if the big brands, the fancy brands are doing it, we can do it too.
Exactly, yeah, because that can be really, sometimes it's better to do a contrasting color compared to slightly off, because then it just looks a little bit weird, like it's not almost matching but not really. So yeah, totally recommend doing a completely different color then.
So that was three versions, and we have 2 more to go.
Yeah.
And when we go from the straight tee, and then we go to the
oversized tee, also my favorite, maybe not your favorite.
No, I cannot with those. I've tried, but everything about my body screams not for me.
I love my oversized tee. It's that and the straight tee. It's I can live and die with those styles. But compared to the straight tee, this one is even wider in the body, and it also has a little bit more distinguished, like dropped shoulders. Like sometimes in between can be a little bit weird, but this is like proper off shoulder. And also the sleeve is a little bit different. It has very low sleeve cap compared to the other one, so it's really like this is a more oversized fit general, a little bit shorter as well, because that I think is like the key point here. Like if it's oversized and long, then it just feels like you are wearing the wrong size. But here it's a little bit shorter compared to the other ones. Super easy, I mean, obviously, to just make it longer if you prefer that. But yeah, that's the difference. So now we have these are all have set-in sleeves, and they are quite how do you say, even jumps in between the amount of ease. So in my pattern making brain, this is like, perfect. The straight fitted tee that we added, now it all makes sense. The size difference between these, it's more even now. Yeah,
even,
because it was too big of a jump from the fitted tee compared to the oversized tee. It was something missing there. So now it's like, thank you. Now it makes sense.
Yeah, and it's so nice now. I feel so too, because something we think a lot about is sustainability, and we want to provide a book that can keep on giving for basically forever, which means that, because sometimes there is a trend towards more oversized tops, and then there's a trend for more close-fitting. Sometimes they, of course, exist in parallel in the same universe. And, of course, we also have a personal preference, but that can also change depending on how you are feeling, how your body is feeling, and all the things in your life, whatever. So that's why it's so nice now that I feel like regardless of your own personal journey and fashion, you will be able to use this book forever, basically, because there are no other. We have covered all the t-shirts when we talk about satin sleeves now, which to me, I feel very excited about this, because I want to make like a classic that someone will just always keep in their sewing library, and not just, okay, but it looks nice in 2026, but in 2030 it's, because obviously fashion changes, even though we think that we are always the same, we are still so much influenced on what is happening around us, even if we have a core style. So I'm very, very excited about this now. I feel we have all the things covered now, at least in my head.
Yeah, then we have our final pattern is a little bit, I don't want to say problem child, because I don't want to label it and give it a bad energy, but it's the raglan.
Yeah.
You know my feelings about raglans. It's just, it's so much easier to construct garments when it's a proper shoulder seam, front and back, and it's just easier. With a raglan, that's a little bit different then. But yeah, of course we wanted to include a raglan, and I would say fitting wise, like the tightness of it, it's now I don't remember exactly what ease it was, but I think it's something in between, quite close to the straight tee, maybe a little bit tighter, but something there between the fitted tee and straight tee. So this one is also pretty easy to add cuffs, and you will have like a sweatshirt side basically. So it is a little bit, it's not a tight fitted, it's a bit more relaxed fitted raglan.
Yeah, and of course we also will provide a hoodie pattern and also the kangaroo pocket, I think they call it in English, the one that we have on the tummy, where you can have your hand through. So you can basically it's not going to be an oversized sweatshirt, we should say. It's more in the line in the t-shirt vein, so to speak. We should be clear about that, but it's still something you can use when you're sewing a little bit thicker fabric, and if you want to add a hoodie and just make it a bit more that vein, we're going to provide those pattern as well. So that's the one. So as you can see, it's going to be a lot of patterns because we're doing so many sizes as well. So that's also one of the questions that we are having right now, when we're not really sure on what we landed on. So what we're going to do now is, in the book you will have pattern sheet that you will have to trace, right? Because you will not be able to cut the pattern out, and we have to print
on both front and back side, and they are going to be overlapping a little bit. Otherwise it would just have to be so many pattern sheets. But here we have discussed that we are going to have them in different colors, so it's quite easy still to see, like, oh, that's the front piece, that's the back piece, and that's the sleeve. So they are going to be in different colors. Exactly. So each style will have a specific color, and then of course each line will have a special shape or a special dash or a special dot, so it's going to be easy to find and trace, hopefully. But yes, as you say, we're not going to go all out Berda style, so it's not going to look like a complete. We're going to try to keep it somewhat airy, but we also want to make sure that we can cover all these sizes, and that's why we have to, do a little bit of a compromise. So just know that, and a good thing about tracing as well is that, of course, if you want to do a t-shirt in another size later on, you're kind of screwed. I mean, basically, because then you cut it all out already. And also, of course, if you want to trace between sizes, which is also going to be really easy. So, for instance, if you're one size over the chest area and you're one size around another size around the hip, it's very easy now with this style that we're doing now, that just to grade out or grade in or whatever you need. I think that's also really important.
we all know that tracing is not your favorite sport. I mean, we know that. But
it's a little bit time consuming. But it's a little bit funny because I just realized 5 years ago when I had a sewing class that people actually cut into the patterns like they don't trace. I was like, can you do that? But then, I mean, that person obviously had, I don't remember what pattern it was, like Simplicity or Vogue or something that, I mean, the pattern pieces wasn't overlapping, obviously, otherwise you can't cut. So it was like, yeah, of course, why wouldn't you be able to cut? But in my world, it's like, no, but you always have to trace. So you have the original there, untouched. You don't want to mess with that. So yeah, for me that was mind-blowing, but of course you can can cut it straight away if you want to.
If you want to, and I can imagine that some of you listening are definitely in that camp as well. So I know that you might feel, okay, what a bummer. But we will say that we will also provide digital downloads. So you get the patterns on printed paper in an envelope at the back of the book, but you will also be able by following a link or something like that, we're going to figure that out, you will be able to get the PDF version as well and projector files as well. So if you are in that camp that you have the opportunity to either have a projector or you want to cut into the lines, then you can of course use the digital version and print that out as well, or the projector thing. So we do have that in mind as well, which I feel really good about that. We have thought about that extra step as well, because we do understand that we like to do, we have different ways of doing things, and it's like with a lot of things now, we want to provide options for those of you.
Yeah, and we have talked about this before, and we made that you could vote on our social media, and yes, we are going to have seam allowance is included. It's going to be 1 centimeter, and the hem
against
is
my will.
Yeah, I know. Here we are really different.
Yeah. The people have spoken, and I'm not agreeing with the people.
I was so happy.
I am bowing from the majority. I understand that I am alone in my belief system.
Yeah, majority ruled, thankfully, in my opinion. But here I would like to know, listeners, do you want the PDF patterns, like both the projector files and the regular PDF patterns? Do you want to be able to also have them without seam allowance? Because I know if you do a lot of pattern adjustments, or if you want to have it as a base pattern and construct other garments, use it as a base pattern basically, then it's so much easier to do those adjustments on a pattern without seam allowance. So do you want that to be included as well? Because then, I mean, it's not easy, it is of course a little bit extra work, but like we have it already in the files that we can have both the stitch line and the seam allowance in the same PDF file. I mean, they are just in different layers, so you can turn them on and turn them off, what you prefer basically. Or should it be in separate files, like one file is just seam allowance and one file is without seam allowance? Will that be more clear? So here I would like what you guys think. What would you prefer basically? Because you can go either way. It's just like what's easier for the customer basically to work with.
Yeah, very good point. And also, where can you bring this feedback? So we have a few ways of contacting us, I should say, as well. We have our Instagram account, stitchingtalespod. You can comment on the or DM us there. You can, of course, email us at stitchingtalespod@gmail.com. On our YouTube channel, you can comment on this video, and you can also comment on Spotify. So you have lots of different options to have your say, and we're definitely going to do some more polls as well over at Instagram account as well. And Stitching Tales Pod, I think I said that. So you have ways of contacting us. That's the thing when we're doing a podcast. There's no direct link into that. We're gonna try to do a live, I think, either on Instagram or YouTube later on as well, and see if we can get you have more opportunities to think about it. But yeah. it is very, because I know you, Malena, you have the seam line or stitch line on your digital patterns, right? You have that, so you have that options.
Yeah, it's on all styles, but not on all files. So, for example, the copy shop file, the A0, the big file, and the projector file, then it's only the seam allowance there. But on the A4 letter size, then I have one that is only seam allowance and one file that is stitched lines and seam allowance lines in different layers. I don't know if that's easy. I think I've done it a little bit different, named them a little bit. I need to do a little redo and clean up this and do the same way on all patterns. But I at least on one file there is the stitch line included, or sewing line included as well, because as a pattern maker, that's the important line.
Yeah, and it is, and it's very true, which if you have our book Fit for Knits, I mean, it's absolutely crucial, because if you use the cutting line, you're going to mess up the pattern fitting, because you get all the wrong measurements, because as we all know, depending if, for instance, a curve on the seam line is shorter than the curve of the cutting line. So if you want to adjust the pattern and make sure that the lines are true, you always have to use the seam line, unless something is absolutely straight. That's the only, but not that many pieces are 100% straight. So yeah, it's always really good to add, you have to add the seam line at some point, but the tricky, as you say, Malena, it's get a little bit messy with all the layers and the PDF files, and it's add a next layer of complications. So that's why we're so interested to hear your thoughts and how you feel, if you have used Malena's pattern or other people's patterns with seam allowance, how pros and cons with the seam lines using that, because I should say, for full transparency, I don't use those myself.
Yeah, and the reason why also, I have some files that are only seam allowance is because depending on a computer and or how you open the file, the PDF file, sometimes there is no layer function, or like all layers are open, and on my phone, for example, you can't, if I open a PDF file, you can't do the layer function. I have an old phone, so might be that. But that's why I'm like, I don't want to have the seam stitching lines on all files, because what if you have what if all layers are always and you won't be able to close? Like, it will be a mess with all the lines.
It's a mess. It's just exactly, because it only works when you're able to hide all the other sizes or layers. I mean, it's hard enough anyways because especially when there's just like in the neckline, for instance, the grading between different sizes is just usually a few millimeters, so it's kind of messy. But it's food for thought. So again, we would love to hear your suggestions on this topic as well, because I mean, we want to make this right, and it's so good now that we're bringing you on so early in the process. So hopefully, when the book is out, we have really thought through all the things, and also we should say 1 centimeter. That is 3/8 inch wide, I think.
Isn't it 5/8?
No, that's 1.5 centimeters.
Yes, sorry, I'm mixing them up.
But just so you know, and that's a separate discussion. I won't go into that now because I get so fired up. But anyways, it is what it is. So at the moment we are at the stage that all the patterns are done, but we haven't made them into PDFs or into so that's why this is a perfect opportunity before we start to actually work to make the patterns pretty. We get this feedback, so this is a perfect opportunity actually to give us this. Yeah, so the book won't be done in this spring, if you
no.
No, unfortunately not. I mean, we're aiming for before 2026 is over. That's our goal. We'll see, things can happen, but we are like ramping up the book work, at least, that's for sure. So that's why it's so nice now when we're like now as you say, Malena, now it's on the schedule. It's going to happen. It's the main priority. It's so good now to have you on the journey. So, and of course, it's not just about getting the patterns right. We're also going to have very detailed sewing instructions. So I should also clarify that this will not be a book about fitting, because we already have a book about that, Fit for Knits, highly recommended. So if you want to learn how to alter the patterns for fit, then this is not the book for you, because then you should get the other book, because then the book is going to be like massive. But what this book will have is, first of all, as you say, Malena, it's going to go very deep into fabric, all the knowledge you need to pick the right type of fabric for every style, and understanding how to work with stretch fabrics, how to cut them, and of course how to sew them. So we're going to have very detailed, illustrated, step-by-step instructions for all the methods that you will use for sewing a t-shirt. So this is also like the ultimate sewing guide to sewing your own t-shirt, and how to achieve professional result on your home sewing equipment. So we're going to put a lot of effort into that section of the book as well. So we feel that's something, of course, when you're doing a book, you always have to there's always a trade-off. So for instance, a lot of pattern books maybe have a little bit more simplified instructions, so every step is not illustrated, because it's expensive to print the book and you want to have all the things, nice photos, of course the patterns, and maybe ideas for making different adjustments, but we are going to go deep into the instructions, because we feel like that is one of our like special skills that we feel that we can provide as well. So it's just not a pattern book, it's also a book on how to sew with knits in, of course, especially t-shirts.
Yeah, and the pattern, I mean, we have, for the neckline, for example, we have like pattern piece for the attachment, but we are going to also talk about how do you do if you want to make a binding, because you can, of course, instead of an attachment, add on a binding instead. And how do you do that if you have a cover stitch machine or cover lock, and you can also do it on a regular home sewing machine with a pretty nice looking outcome. So we also want to talk about those kind of different types of making.
Exactly. So you can do like a ringer t-shirt, which is very trendy right now. If you haven't noticed, I see it a lot in more like hip stores, and I think it's going to be even bigger now. I think also with the Stranger Things, like the final series, because I've just started watching Stranger Things now. I was late to the game now, but anyways, it's very ringer t-shirt heavy, which is like those 80s or 70s retro t-shirts which have this wide binding, not like narrow binding, but like a wide 2-3 centimeters binding. Especially, I think Fiona Ryder, she's rocking a lot of ringer t-shirts in that series. That's what I mean, it's a lot of monsters and scary stuff, but all I'm thinking about is the t-shirt in the series.
Yeah, I think you're all the one focusing on that particular thing when it comes to Stranger Things.
Yeah.
But it's such a good technique also to know, because then you have so many more options, both how to make it, and you can of course make a binding on the sleeve ending as well. You don't have to if you want to avoid the hemming. So it's a really good technique. And full disclosure, I have never sewn a binding. I have never done that. Because I'm a little bit more, okay, I know this technique, I'm gonna perfect it. I am focusing on that one. I know technically how to do a binding, but I have actually never done it myself, and I have a cover lock. So it's about time maybe that I can be the guinea pig. You write the instructions and I see if I can
you can test them out, and and we're also going to provide instruction if you only have a regular sewing machine, because you can also sew binding just using a regular twin needle as well. So you have options, so don't worry if you don't have a binder attachment or a cover stitch machine. But so as you can see, it's going to be a substantial book. That's why we say it's not going to be done in a jiffy. It's going to take a little bit of time. But we're going to do it great. That's the main goal here. But I feel very excited now talking about it. I mean, we're going to have some dips, and that's why it's also nice to have you listeners cheering us on, because it won't just be, I mean, now we're very excited about it, because we are like in the beginning stages. It's like it varies,
Exactly. We are in the dating stage still,
exactly.
So everything is just nice and fuzzy and but also different type of neckline, different types of hem. I think we are going to include as well, both if you have a regular sewing machine, an overlocker, or
serger.
Serger.
Cover stitch machine.
So you have different alternatives here, and depending a little bit on the fabric here, how to choose. And then a question: is there anything else that you want us to deep dive into? Or give like different suggestions on how shoulder stabilizers is a given as well, right?
Yeah.
Different ways of stabilizing the shoulders, which is a different thing compared to woven. This is like completely knitted fabric specific thing that you need to do. So that we absolutely gonna cover as well. Is there anything else? Any other questions? Because we have been in this knitted fabric world for ages. So we might be a little bit like, this is super clear. But if you're new to it, what are your questions? What do you need to know? Needles, of course, we are going to talk as well about. You need to have a special needles there.
Thread as well.
So different type of stitchings if you have just a home sewing machine and not an overlocker. So we are going to cover a lot of this is a perfect if you are a total beginner, but also if you have sewn, how to level up. So we try to cover it all.
Yeah, it's going to be like the ultimate book. That's why, and also there would also be the plan is, and I think we're going to do that also. If you want to add like a breast pocket on a t-shirt, it's going to be instruction for that as well. One thing that I really like myself, and I know a lot of you also like, is when you look at like nicely made t-shirts, when you buy them, they usually have a band covering the back of the neckband seam. So the plan is, because I already have tutorials that on my blog, but the plan is to also add tutorials for that as well. So if you want to get that like nice professional finish.
Yeah, so it covers the overlock seam.
And it doesn't chafe and it look fast and nice. So we're going to try to add those like little extra things that you might not always get normally on regular home sewing instructions. So and if you have any more of those details you've seen maybe in ready to wear t-shirts and you're curious about how do they do that, and we would love to hear, because we definitely want to see if we can provide instruction for that as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I have never done that either. I'm looking forward to try. It's actually really nice. I do it a lot, and now I've been thinking if I'm going to try to level it up again. But we try to also keep it reasonably simple. I mean, you should be able to do this on your regular home sewing machine without a massive, and the method that I show on my blog, and it's very like beginner friendly, so to speak. You don't have to have like a fancy machine. You can do it just on your regular sewing machine. So that would probably the method that and you can use different type of bands for it as well. So so lots of those little extra thing, and of course which we talked about in a dedicated episode, there, if you don't have a cover stitch machine but you have a serger, you also have lots of options of hemming that you might not think about. Everything from a lettuce hem to a blind hem with the ladder stitching on the outside, which you can actually see, especially in all the t-shirts. So you have options as well. We're also going to investigate for you and show how to do it. So it's a book. It's so many things. I'm like, the to-do list is just growing and growing.
Yeah, we are doing it right. Yes, we're like, different methods of binding. I'm like, all right, okay, yeah.
Yeah, but it feels like this podcast have basically been a preparation for this book, because we have talked a lot about sewing with knits and jerseys, and because that's our passions. So it just makes sense to put everything in a book, to have it there collected.
It's going to be really nice. So yes, I think, have we covered all the things, the questions now, or do you have any more on the list that we need to figure out?
I think that's most of it. And of course, like if there are any things that we haven't thought about. One thing. I think this is a little bit U.S. versus or American versus European, but the grain line. In America, is it enough with the grain line on the patterns, or do you want the stretch direction? What do you say? Like it's
a stretch direction. A horizontal arrow. So, for instance, on a lot of my sewing patterns, I also have the horizontal line, which is the stretch direction, which is the direction where the fabric has the most stretch, which is usually crosswise on most knit fabrics. And you're right. I see that more in US patterns than I see in Europe, and that's probably why I added them as well. I don't know.
Is it necessary, that's a good question. Or is it a good thing to have? Or but do the US pattern, do they have both then, or is it just the stretch direction?
No, I have the grain line because you always have to align the pattern against the ribs or the vertical formation. But for me, it's just sometimes I think some pieces it can be a little bit confusing. I think everyone understands that if you're sewing a T-shirt, that the bodice is going to be, with the most stretch. But sometimes for me, I have some pattern pieces that maybe like a pocket thing or something like that isn't 100% intuitive. Then I just for extra safety measure add that as well, just in case. It's so difficult. I mean, because as you say, we are so in this, but maybe someone who gets this book, this is the first time they're actually sewing with knits, and they are just want to make their first knit T-shirt, and then maybe understanding, cross that might be not natural. Because that's something you have to learn. I mean, I've done that mistake myself when I started to sew with knits, because back in the days, back in the 80s, there weren't really like resources on how to sew with knits, because the internet wasn't a thing, for instance. So I definitely flipped pieces and had to pay for it later. Yeah.
Yeah, good to. I mean, we're definitely obviously going to cover this in the book then, like with grain line, stretch direction and what. But does it need to have the arrow stretch direction on the pattern pieces as well, or is the grain line enough? I think that's more clear, to be honest, but I don't know. What do you guys, listeners, what do you think?
Yeah, especially from the view, I know a lot of you listening are already sewing this, but if you could just like also take a step back, for instance, when you first began sewing with knits, would that have been helpful? Because sometimes, unfortunately, people might not read the instruction. They will just jump to the pattern straight away, because maybe I'm talking about myself right now, but yeah, we have to understand that as well. That they won't read every single word.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, but that's and is there anything else that is different versus like the European, like this is how it's usually done, versus in Australia they usually do it like this, or in America they usually do it like that? Like, are there any other difference that we don't know about?
Good point.
I mean, this is, feel free now. You can come with ask, make wishes. Not maybe able to fulfill them all, but this is a great opportunity if you have anything that you want to be included.
Yeah, very good. Because we are always so narrow-minded. I guess, I mean, I sew mostly European patterns and some US patterns. I think I'm not really familiar with the other traditions around the world. So very good. And also being able to pick the best ideas from different cultures when it comes to how to make a sewing pattern as clear as possible, and of course, what symbols and all the things like that as well. We try to like pick the best of the best here now to make sure that it's easy to understand, regardless if it's your first time sewing a T-shirt or if you're a more seasoned sewist.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah. So we have work this year.
We have work to do.
But it's fun. We are not starting from scratch. It feels like this is more collecting everything we have done so far and put it into a book.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's why I also feel I don't feel like it's not going to be doable. It's just that, it's a lot of work, but it's not something that feels outside our comfort zone. I think we are very comfortable in this zone. This is like our zone of genius, so to speak. Feel a little bit grandiose here in the early days of 2026. But yeah, that's why it's so good. I feel like we're also able to really combine our expertise into one book as well, where we have our strengths and we're able to complement those. So I hope that you are listening are also feeling that you want to be part of this book journey. And again, don't hesitate to get in touch with us. We would love to get some feedback on the questions that we have now. And of course, we're going to do more episodes in the future with updates and probably tons of more questions once we actually get started with it, because this is more of a theoretical discussions, because we're not really in the weeds with the actual bookmaking. So yeah, but I feel super excited. To a T, the book is called, and stay tuned for more updates. Yeah.
Yes, will be great.
All right. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Now off to work.
Yes.
Oh, anyways, thank you so much for staying along on this journey and listening to us. And of course, don't hesitate to drop a review over on iTunes or Spotify, because we would love to get more reviews as well on the podcast. We definitely want to grow it in 2026 as well. I think we are an upward curve, but I think we can... So if you feel like it, do spread the word. That would be super grateful for as well, so we can reach more people and so they can hopefully benefit from listening to our podcast.
Absolutely. See you next week then.
Yes. Bye-bye.